Welcome everyone to Navigating City Contracting Opportunities. We'll be getting started shortly. If you do have any technical difficulties, please make sure that you email Mildred Melendez. We've listed her email here. And then for any Q&A, please submit it through the Q&A function directly. So we'll be getting started shortly.
Something.
Yeah, I am. I gotta get off.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Navigating City Contracting Opportunities with Councilmember Gil Cedillo. We'll be getting started in about a minute. I just wanted to let everyone know if you are submitting any questions, to please submit it through the Q&A function directly. We'll have some of our panelists answering questions via that function only, and we'll also have our account manager, Rosa, answering any questions throughout the presentation. If you are having any technical difficulties, please make sure to email Mildred. We've listed her email there. So if you're having technical difficulties, make sure to go ahead and email her. Again, we'll be getting started shortly. Thank you. Welcome everyone to Navigating City Contracting Opportunities. We'll go ahead and get started. Just some quick announcements. Any questions, please submit through the Q&A function. We'll have our account manager, Rosa, answering questions throughout the presentation. So thank you everyone for joining us. Naveed?
Perfect, great. Thank you so much, Wendy, and welcome everyone to this virtual workshop we're hosting today in conjunction with Council Member Gil Cedillo of the 1st Council District for the State of Los Angeles. We are pleased to have each and every one of you attend this virtual workshop, and we thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us today. So on behalf of myself, Naveed Barkhodar, and our team here at the Contractor Development and Bonding Program, we want to thank you again for being with us today, and we'll get started right away. The purpose of today's workshop is to basically share with you some of the opportunities that are coming down the line with various departments here at the City of Los Angeles, including the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, Los Angeles World Airports, and the Port of Los Angeles. So you'll be hearing from a representative of each of these departments in just a bit. But before we do so, we want to extend a warm welcome to the council member, Mr. Gil Cedillo, and before we do that, I'm going to actually read a bio of the council member, and hopefully he'll join us live. If not, we have a video presentation of his that we'll share with you all in just a second. Gil Cedillo has proven himself as a public servant who brings people together to make strong public policy. In May 2013, Gil Cedillo was elected to the Los Angeles Council, representing the 1st Council District. He was elected in 2017 with an overwhelming margin to continue serving the people of CD1. Councilmember Cedillo's advocacy on behalf of underdeserved communities is legendary. His causes have ranged from becoming a formidable counterweight to the inhumane crusade against undocumented families to his unwavering support for Filipino American World War II veterans, the uninsured, low-income and working families, the homeless, and AB 540 DREAM students. He has worked diligently to mainstream all of their agendas, one community at a time. At present, he's committed to building 100,000 units of housing over the next 10 years, promoting smart growth to help revitalize neighborhoods and create jobs, while stabilizing neighborhoods with the creation and protection of affordable housing. Councilmember Cedillo exceeded the City Council pledge to build 222 units of permanent supportive housing and has built 902 units, 680 of them over the goal, in addition to the 810 existing permanent supportive housing units, being second highest among 13 other districts in this effort. Councilmember Cedillo grew up in the Boyle Heights community of Los Angeles and attended Roosevelt High School. He graduated from the University of California, Los Angeles with a bachelor's degree in sociology in 1977 and received a Juris Doctor degree from the People's College of Law in 1983. Prior to his public service, he worked for the Service Employees International Union, Local 660, Los Angeles County's largest union, where he served as a general manager from 1990 to 1996. He has a son and 2 lovely granddaughters. Please help me give a warm welcome to Councilmember Gil Cedillo. Wendy, we can't hear.
Let me go ahead and share the sound. David, let me know if this is better.
Hi, I'm Gil Cedillo, and I want to
Yes.
welcome you to the Navigating City Contracting Opportunities webinar. Easy for you to say. I'm sponsoring this event though because we're emerging from the pandemic and we're part of the global economy. And we have to recognize that we need to take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves to us. I frequently tell my staff, take advantage of your advantages. And so in this case, the city is creating a contractor development and bonding program to assist you and your company in understanding about bonding capacity and business growth. These are the fundamentals. They're essential for doing public works projects. And this city right now is in a boom period with respect to public works. The Department of Public Works, the Los Angeles Airport, the Department of Water and Power, the Port of Los Angeles are right now commencing a huge multi-billion-dollar construction program. And so here in CD1, we could locate $212 million of ongoing construction project opportunities. We're very cognizant that the 2028 Olympics are coming. We've got so much work to do in the city. In fact, the county's Economic Development Corporation tells us that we're going to need 750,000 new jobs. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot of opportunity, and we want to make sure that you get to participate in it. So welcome, enjoy the seminar, the webinar, I look forward to the times when we can get together in person. But for today, focus your participation, look for opportunities, and let's move forward. Let's put this pandemic behind us. Let's put it in the rearview mirror, and let's go forward building a better and greater Los Angeles. Thank you for your time. Hi, I'm Gil Cedillo.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Wendy. And although council member is not with us today, we thank him for his welcome to our participants today. And as you heard the council member say, this program, the city's contractor development and bonding program, is administered by our firm, Meriwether & Williams Insurance Services. And we've had the privilege of administering this program going back to 2005 now, so a little over 12, maybe 13 years now. And we've seen a lot of contractors come through our doors, small and emerging contractors who are now maybe not necessarily large contractors, but relatively speaking, but certainly contractors who are doing in excess of sometimes 10, 15, $20 million construction projects on their own without any assistance from our program. Before we get into the presentation on what the program is all about, I want to acknowledge and thank our partners at 3D Networks and D'Amato and Wendy Angel, who, and along with Mildred Melendez and her team, who do all the behind the scenes work and everything that's necessary to bring this event to you today. So we want to thank them as well for all their efforts, as well as our own team in Meriwether & Williams, some of whom you see here on the screen, or you will get responses to some questions that you may submit through the Q&A chat. So without further ado, we'll jump right in. Wendy, if you can bring up the presentation. Okay, first slide. Okay, so a little bit about us. I do see some familiar names in the participant window here, but for those of you who don't know us, we are a full service property and casualty insurance brokerage firm. We operate within the insurance industry. We do a lot by way of construction consulting for public agencies and large general contractors. We do have specialty programs where we provide event insurance for those of you who ever use public premises for any types of events that you may convene. But what we are predominantly most known for are our contractor bonding and technical assistance programs. And you'll hear a good deal about that in just a minute, specific to the City of Los Angeles' contractor development and bonding program. Those are some of our offices there in San Francisco, LA, and Oakland. And the note that I share with everyone is that we ourselves are also a small woman minority-owned firm. And in that vein, we can relate to a lot of the challenges that some of you as small emerging contractors or those that are new to the public works landscape and encounter when trying to do work with public agencies. And so we design our programs and our services from a relatable mindset. And like I said, you'll be hearing about our services in just a second. Next slide, please. So really at its core, the mission of the program is to reduce the barriers of bonding capacity, enable greater and successful participation of small, local, minority, women, and disabled veteran-owned businesses in public contract opportunities. And we do that through what we've come to coin as the 4 pillars of contractor development. You'll hear about each of these in just a second. But essentially, the 4 pillars are an assessment and enrollment phase, and then we offer critical bonding assistance and technical assistance support. We do a lot by way of education, training, and contractor support. And we also have a prime partnership program that you'll hear about as well. Next slide, please. So before we get into the services of the program and how we help contractors navigate the challenges, especially when it comes to bonding, a very quick slide on what bonding is, why it's necessary. Without going into too much detail, we actually have a few sessions coming up, what we call Bonding 101, where we go into detail. We spend an hour, maybe an hour and a half on all the ins and outs of bonding, why it's required, what bonding is all about, and how you go about the entire bonding process, along with an in-depth dissertation, if you will, on the resources that our program offers. But we're going to speak a little bit about what and why bonding is necessary. So really, a bond in the context of public construction is a three-party agreement that guarantees a contract completion. So if you see the bullets to the left there, a bond essentially protects another party. You cannot purchase it. You have to actually qualify for it. So unlike insurance, you can't just call up an agent and say, hey, I need a bond for $1 million construction project that I'm about to do with the city of Los Angeles. You actually have to go through a formal qualification process where a bonding company evaluates your what's known as the 3 C's, your credit, character, and capacity, and then determines whether or not your firm is viable to do a $1 million contract. And the reason for that is, unlike insurance, no losses are expected. So when you purchase an insurance policy for your company, you're purchasing a policy that basically will be able to protect you in the event of an accidental loss of some kind. In the case of a bond, the bond is there actually not protecting you in any way. It's protecting the public agency that you're contracting with to do a particular project. So what the bond is doing in essence is essentially providing a guarantee to your project owner, such as the city of Los Angeles, we'll just use that for the sake of example today, that you as a contractor will perform according to the plan specifications, the contract price, the budget, the schedule, all of that. And essentially there is a guarantee coming to the public agency by virtue of that bond. And if you don't perform, the bonding company will actually deliver and make whole, if you will, the city of Los Angeles for that project. So it's a guarantee instrument, if you will, to help ensure public agencies that any contractor that's working with them is going to actually deliver the project on time and on budget. And there's also a very different or a unique dynamic to bonding that doesn't exist with insurance. So again, insurance is there to protect you. Bonding is there to protect the public agency or your project owner. Because of that, there is what's known as an indemnification or indemnity agreement that contractors sign. It's a standard practice, which basically allows the bonding company to come after the contractor in the event of a default. Because again, remember, the bonding company has gone through an exhaustive process of determining your capability, and in fact has guaranteed your project to that public agency. If for whatever reason there's a default, unlike insurance where there is a minimal investigation, if the claim is legitimate, the policy will be paid out. When it comes to bonding, the bonding company can actually, by virtue of the indemnification, come after you to recover for any losses or damages that may have transpired. Why is bonding required? So believe it or not, well, first and foremost, it's mandated by law, and it goes all the way back to that should be actually 1894, the Hurd Act, where well, it was 1894 and then more formally built into practice by the Miller Act in 1935, where basically the government said anytime a contractor is working on a government project of over $100,000, we're going to require these payment and performance bonds because we want to get a guarantee that the project is going to be delivered to us. The reason for that, if you think about it, is a public project is not being funded by a private owner. It's actually being funded by taxpayer dollars that all of us contribute to the system. So as a mechanism to protect the taxpayer dollars, they've instituted this requirement, again, the bonding requirement, to essentially make sure that that project is going to be guaranteed for the owner. And as you see there, it ensures that the owner receives a finished product at a negotiated price. It ensures the owner that all subcontractors and their suppliers and vendors will be paid, because public agencies don't want a situation where their contractor hasn't paid a supplier, and then the supplier, let's just put it in the context of an example. There's a contractor that has purchased $100,000 worth of paint from Sherwin-Williams. They don't want Sherwin-Williams to put a stop notice on the project because the city's contractor hasn't paid them for that $100,000 worth of paint. So it ensures that the subcontractors will be paid. And then finally, and perhaps sometimes most importantly, it acts as a pre-qualification instrument for the contractor's ability to perform. So it's a way for owners, both in this case, public agencies and large GCs that oftentimes engage in contracts with subcontractors to pre-qualify a subcontractor and determine their capabilities or know that they are capable of performing the work. Next slide, please. Okay, so what does this program
This guy's
do?
crazy, Deb.
Can we actually, there's a Tony request there. Can we have Tony mute, or Wendy, if you can have Tony be muted, please. Thank you. So the services that we offer, which you see here on this slide, is obviously we help you obtain or increase your bonding capacity. There are a whole array of contract development, capacity building, and technical services that we offer. We'll get into that in a second. But at the outset, one of the things that we do is we actually partner up your company with a dedicated account manager. So we realize that many small and emerging businesses, especially in today's environment, don't have the time or the resources to go about obtaining new work or paying as much attention to the business as is necessary, especially in the public works landscape. And so what we do is we actually partner your company with one of our account managers. We have Rosa Osorio here with us today, who's one of our senior account managers for the program. And their job is to basically act as your liaison for anything and everything related to your pursuit in the public contract workspace, as well as the growth of your business. So you'll see in a second, there is a work plan that gets put together with both short-term and long-term recommendations of what your business needs to do in order to slowly but surely grow your contracting capacity and ensure that you're being successful on securing projects and successfully closing out those projects. One key way that we help contractors get on these public agency projects is through collateral support. And you'll see a few examples of this in just a minute. But essentially, what happens is for many small and emerging contractors, they may not be able to qualify for the bonding capacity based on their own credit character and capacity. So oftentimes what bonding companies will do is they'll say, if we get some collateral, in other words, let's say it's a $100,000 project. If we get 20% of that or 30% of that as collateral, we'll be comfortable in providing the $100,000 bond for this contractor. So, and this is a practice that many contractors do on their own. Those contractors that have liquid assets, whether in the form of cash or other sorts of assets that they may have, they pledge those assets to the bonding company. What the city and other public agencies have done by virtue of these programs is essentially put money aside to be able to deploy as collateral on your behalf to your bonding company so that you don't have to pledge your own assets and in fact can use your own assets for any upfront costs that you may have on a project. As you all know, sometimes public agencies can be a little slow to pay their contractors. So it's definitely better suited for you to use your own financial resources to cover any upfront costs you may have on the project. And so again, the collateral support is there to essentially provide that security to your bonding company to get you the adequate bonding capacity for your project. Another key service that we do, and this is, for those contractors that are securing projects of about $1 million or more, we offer $3,200 for CPA prepared financial statements. So when you get to about $1 million job size, bonding companies up to $1 million, bonding companies will basically be comfortable in relying on your in-house prepared financial statements, whether through a QuickBooks system you use or other type of bookkeeping software that you may use. They're comfortable in using those statements. But when it comes to projects of about $1 million or more, they're going to want to get what's called CPA prepared financial statements. And for those of you who have already secured some of those or worked with CPAs, you've experienced that sometimes there's a hefty price tag that CPAs, especially those in the construction industry, charge for their services. So one of the things that the program does is actually offer a one-time cost subsidy of up to $3,200 to offset the cost of the fee, in essence, that your CPA will be charging you. And then we do a lot by way of advertising different types of bid, project, and events. So as soon as you come in our database, you'll get at least once a week what we call our LA Contractor Weekly, a email with all different types of project opportunities, pre-bid information, education opportunities, events, everything that basically is geared to your navigation of public contracting. And it's what we call a one-stop shop in terms of information, so that you don't have to spend time and energy browsing many different public agency websites, although it's highly recommended that you do, obviously, for many reasons, some of which you'll hear later today. But it's one way of being able to get an email in your inbox with all that information. Next slide, please. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, one of the key things that we do early on with your account manager is the creation of assessment and work plan. So we assess your company similar to how a bonding company assesses you, because in essence, a bonding company is determining what size of a project you can take on. So we do an assessment, and then from there we build a work plan. And the work plan, depending on the consultation that you have with your contractor, can be 3-4 pages long to as long as 20-25 pages, based on how much information is there to achieve your short-term and long-term goals that are outlined in that work plan for you. Another thing that we do is we create a contractor profile. So many of the businesses that come to us don't necessarily have marketing tools to advertise and promote their business. And so what we do is we put together a profile, essentially the equivalent of a capability statement, to help you further promote your business, whether it be to large general contractors or for whatever clients you are looking to do work with. We do a lot by way of assisting you in obtaining certifications. And another key support is bid document review. So we actually can help you before you submit a bid to look at the different aspects of that bid, not necessarily on pricing elements, because that's obviously cost is your own territory, but we help review the bid, the specifications, make sure that you've acknowledged all the different addendums that may have transpired on a certain invitation to bid, and sometimes even point out red flags that sometimes contractors overlook in certain plans and specification documents. So we do a lot by way of that, and then obviously a lot by way of contract monitoring. So if we've been able to successfully help you land a contract, we want to make sure that you are successful in delivering that project on time and on budget. So Robert Lowry, who's our field support project manager, and you'll be hearing from him in a few minutes, actually does a very detailed process in terms of managing the life cycle of the project, make sure that you're meeting all your milestones, the schedule of values are being met, and all the different aspects of the project from a technical and sometimes even a field perspective. He's there to make sure that you're hitting all of those marks to be able to successfully deliver the project that you've entered into. And we do a lot by way of workshops. You'll hear a lot about that. We have a construction training academy, which is basically a 7, sometimes 8-week course. We're in the middle of one right now for our Metro program, which is on bidding and estimating. Matter of fact, I believe the graduation is tomorrow night. And these are basically dedicated immersion training programs where we bring in sometimes key estimators from large prime contractors who work with a small group of class. There's an image there that you can see on this slide, and basically convey to the participants how to effectively bid. So they're sharing some of their best practices that they've learned. We're talking about big businesses that they've learned in maybe 50, sometimes 100+ years of doing this business. They're sharing some of their tips of the trade with you, and it's a very hands-on class. So as you can see in that image there, they come with their software. The participants do actual takeoffs in these sessions. So there's formal exercises that take place to basically educate and teach smaller contractors how to make sure you're bidding and estimating properly. And then finally, our prime partnership, which is again another avenue where we partner with large general contractors to deliver these services for you in context of the prime contractors. Next slide, please. So here are just some examples. The one on the left is an example of a work plan. As you can see, these documents get shared with you electronically. So, you know, if your account manager is suggesting that you go meet with a certain company or apply for a certain certification, all of those links are embedded in here and will obviously be delivered to your inbox. So you don't have to remember exactly where they may have told you to go to. You can literally go in the context of this document and click on the link, and that specific portal will pop up for you. The right is the contractor profile or the capability statement that I mentioned that we create for you. So this is a sample for one of our contractors, and it's geared towards you know, advertising your company in the public project or public contracting arena. You see at the very top there's certifications there. You'll hear more about certifications today. Certifications are of utmost importance in public contracting. Obviously your bonding capacity, some of your notable jobs. Again, this is not meant to be read, but it's there to show you a sample of a contractor profile that we create for our contractors. Next slide, please. So very quickly, here's an example of how the collateral support works. And we encounter these situations almost all the time. So let's say there's a contractor that has gone through the motions of applying for bonding, and they've been able to secure about $500,000 of bonding capacity from a bonding company. And they've used that amount, and they've done maybe one or two projects in that range, but they come across a project where their estimate is coming out to be closer to $1 million. Obviously, they don't have the bonding capacity to support that larger figure. So what happens on the bottom row is we actually would look at that project, obviously evaluate your company, and then in many instances, we get into a negotiation with your bonding company. We'll say, we understand that you right now have afforded $500,000 in bonding capacity. What if, in this particular example, we were to give you $250,000 of collateral support to help mitigate your risk on this $1 million job? Would that be enough for you, bonding company, to give this bond to the contractor? In many instances, the answer to that question is yes. And we've been doing this, like I said, for many years now with different public agencies throughout the state. And essentially, we partner with these public agencies. So for example, the city of Los Angeles has put money aside to be able to provide this collateral support. And the limit to that per job, per contractor request is up to $250,000 or 40% of the contract amount, whichever is less. So again, a very key, tangible financial support that this program is offering contractors to be able to secure bonding capacity for jobs that you all may be pursuing with the city of Los Angeles or other public agencies. Next slide, please. Here are just very quickly, just two examples of situations that we've helped with collateral support. The first is actually an important one because we've helped a contractor on an IT project. So IT is not your typical construction project where bonds would be required, but sure enough, on this particular procurement, LAWA, which was the owner here, required bonding on this IT project. And so we've helped the contractor grow to about $3 million, but then they came across an opportunity where their bid was going to be around 5.4. I think the final number was 5.7. And so essentially the only way the bonding company was going to give that contractor the bond was contingent on the $250,000 collateral that we pledged on his behalf. Sure enough, that enabled this contractor to get that $5.7 million project. The next one is a smaller one, but you know, again, the same concept. So contractor came to us. It was a very first public agency project, a very small concrete pouring job at the Port of Los Angeles. Didn't have any bonding capacity prior to this job. And the bonding company said, look, the only way we're going to give you a bond for this $23,000 job is if you give 40% of it as collateral to us. So as you can imagine, a contractor sometimes going after a small job like that may not have 40% of that job to pledge as collateral. But sure enough, our program pledged that. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this contractor is now doing in excess of $500,000, maybe $600,000 on their own without any collateral support. So it's a concrete way of helping contractors actually secure bonding and grow their contracting capacity. Next slide, please. And I believe I'm going to turn this over to Robert to speak a little bit more about some of these specific services here as well.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to briefly talk about the bid document review. As Naveed mentioned, this is one of the services that we provide you once you're in the program. So as you can see, we have a little bit of a disclaimer that's up there at the top that, you know, like I said, we're here to look at the content of your bid document, making sure that it's filled out correctly, signatures, notarizing, et cetera. So like I said, we do not, you know, tell you if your numbers are correct or wrong. So that's up to you. And one of the services, you know, we attend the pre-bid. So account managers or myself will attend the pre-bid to get more knowledge about the project that you're interested in bidding on. So once you have decided to bid on the job and you start putting your documents together, then we'll set up a bid document review meeting where we'll sit there and go through the plans and specs and do any red flags to make sure you're aware of certain things, go through the specifications so you're aware of everything that you're required is within your scope. It's really key that you read the specs from beginning to end and also with the plans. As you know, sometimes if you're electrical, a lot of people just go right to your electrical plans and do not look at the architect or HVAC where there might be electrical notes. So we go through the plans to make sure that you don't have any scope gaps. That is also a part of identifying risks as we're going to assist with identifying the risks with the project so you're aware of those as you're executing the project. And we also will go through the bid document requirements to see everything there. And like I said, once you have gone through the initial review with us, we'll send you back, like do some homework, make some changes, send it back to us. We'll do a final bid before you submit to make sure that everything is included. And that way that makes you as a responsive bidder, because as you know, with this public agency, they look for the lowest and the most responsive. So if you miss a document and don't submit it, you're considered non-responsive and you're disqualified, even though you could be the lowest bidder. So that's the key thing with the bid document review. And then after the bid, you know, the opening of the bids and you weren't the successful bidder, you know, we can also work with you to see areas where you are deficient. We can also maybe contact the CA of the agency and see if we can have a debrief with them, because the debrief is helping you learn how to better bid the next time around. So it's like lessons learned. Next slide, please. Naveed also spoke about contract monitoring. So my key role is the contract monitoring. So once you are on a project and you've been awarded and is executed, we will have a kickoff meeting where we'll sit down with your team, the prime or the department, and go through everything. It's a kickoff meeting. We're part of that. Also, we have what's called a job start checklist that I'll sit down or give to you. So you'll go through to make sure that you have identified everything to start the job, which is real critical for successful of completing the job. Then once we have done the kickoff, we will have a meeting that go over with the contract and principal status reports that will sit down and walk you through those so you can see exactly what's required monthly to submit. Because we use these to compare the contract, which is with the prime or the agency, and then the principal status report is with subcontractors. A lot of times the contractors in our program will be filling out the principal status reports. And we look at this to look at the progress, change orders, the financials, we look at any safety, scheduling is all documented on this, and I compare with the contract, whoever the hiring agency is, to see if you guys are in line. If there's any deficiencies or discrepancies, then I'll sit down, we'll go through that. Also, we will use these reports to maybe if we have to have a special meeting to go through things to resolve some of the challenges that you're having so that you can successfully complete the job. Also with monthly check-in, we do that. Billings and payments, we go through your pay applications to make sure your scheduled values, your percent complete. That is also part of the services here. And then construction schedule, you're going to submit that. You look at your 3-week look ahead to make sure that you're on schedule. And sometimes you might be on the critical path of the project, and we want to make sure that you're ordering your materials on time. There's lead times. We want to make sure that you have that. You also want to make sure that your submittals, not submittals, shop drawings are included in your schedule, because that's all duration that driving your completion. Once you're on site, and I do come out and do site visits monthly, and there's a report that I fill out. So Wendy, I just want to show you guys a quick example of what it looks like. So this is a example, a template of the site visit report that I fill out. So as you can see, we put in all the pertinent information, and this is like something I will use from month to month to monitor, so I know what's going on and fill it out. And as we're going through this, we'll meet with your team, your project manager, or whoever's in charge in the field, and go through this. It's like a 2-page document. So Wendy, if you can just scroll down, please. Some of the topics that we talk about is contract documents, your scope of work, schedule, costs, and there's some other items that we talk about that we want to monitor, because I feel that these areas are critical to a successful project. When you can minimize this. And then another thing that's critical is your change orders. I also will do a review with your change order log. And with this, yes, go ahead and click it. It's critical that you reconcile monthly with your change orders, because you want to make sure that you want to be able to bill monthly. And this is a log that kind of shows the PCI number. It's a number that you use internals that you can track these potential cost impacts. You kind of give a description, the scope, and then as you can see, there's a lot of tracking, because you want to make sure that you're tracking. And this is an Excel document, so you can do filters to see what's approved, what's submitted, proceeding. So you can also, when you have meetings with the owners, the OAC meetings, you can say, okay, I have these open change orders, what's the status of them? So you can monitor, because you want to make sure that you're closing out change orders throughout the project and not at the end, because once you're at the end of the project, you're off site, you have lost leverage of reconciling and getting change orders. So we spend a lot of time with you to develop these change orders and the logs so that you are financially stable. Next, please. And also we will be part of you with the closeout, because we will stay with you all the way through until you closed out and you have received your notice of completion. At that point, that is when your collateral and your bond are released. Next, please. Okay, so there, a poll question. I'll turn this back over to Wendy.
Thank you, Robert. I'm going to pull up a really quick poll question. Okay, so the poll question is regarding, would you like to enroll in the program in order to receive any of the free technical assistance and resources covered in the presentation today? And we'll give the attendants about 30 seconds to go ahead and answer that.
While you're answering that question, it's important to know, we may have not mentioned this earlier, all of the services that we mentioned today are at no charge to you as participating contractors in this program. The City of Los Angeles, along with other public agencies, have sponsored these programs to deliver them to your disposal, again, at no cost to you. So if that was a burning question on your mind as you were hearing the services, again, no cost to you.
We're going to go ahead and end the poll.
Okay. We're actually going to go into the next phase of the presentation where you'll be hearing from specific representatives from each of the departments. And first off, we're privileged to have Rolando Tuason with us, who's a certification specialist with the Bureau of Contract Administration, and he'll be sharing with you a bit about certification with the city. Rolando, thank you for being with us today.
Okay, thank you, Navid. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, I would just like to remind everyone, if you have not done so, to register at the city's website of the Los Angeles Business Assistance Virtual Network. And you could go there at labavn.org. Once you register in the site, not only would you be able to get information on all city projects and submit your bids through that website, but your account or profile at LABAVN would also contain your certifications that you have acquired through the city. Next slide, please. The city of LA is one of the, I guess the only government agency here that has a lot of certification programs. The reason for that is not all companies would be able to be eligible for all of these programs that we have. The city did all these programs or administered all these programs so we could get a bigger pool of certified small businesses within the city of LA and county of LA. So it's also to the city's advantage to have all the a lot of small businesses registered or certified within these other programs. And just bear in mind that different city projects would require different certification programs. Now, since we have a lot of programs in there, just to give you a better handle on this, though, we've grouped them into three basic groups. The first one would be the ownership-based programs, which is the minority business, women business enterprise, disadvantaged business, the airport concession disadvantaged business, and the disabled veteran business enterprise, that is for LAWA. The DBE and ACDBE programs are federally mandated program, meaning that agencies that get financial support from the government would need to administer a DBE program within their projects. The second one are size-based certifications, meaning that it's the gross income, the average gross income that is based on this certification. And third one would be location-based program, meaning that it's your location, and location meaning LA County. Next slide, please. These are, the requirements for all those programs. I know that there's a lot of information in there, but not to worry. Meriwether and Williams' team will give you my presentation here, but I'm just going to, give you just a quick rundown of all of these. So the federal programs, the DBE and ACDBE, again, are federally mandated programs in there. There's limits for the personal net worth of the majority owner, which is should be a 51% owner of the business. And also they have to prove that they not only own but control the business. And there's also a limit on the average gross income of the business. While on the other hand, the minority business enterprise and the women business enterprise was grandfathered from this federal program. It's basically a simpler version of the programs without the size limits for personal net worth or gross income. Next slide, please. How and where to apply? There's before we only require paper applications in there, but right now we have an online-based application forms for the DBE and ACDBE program, and you could see that in the chart. So our limitation here, or acceptance for those applications, is the business has to be headquartered in the county of Los Angeles, If you are, want to apply for DB or ACDBE, go to that website, lacity.diversitysoftware.com. If you're outside the county of Los Angeles, anywhere in the state of California, you could go to the California UCP site and apply with the appropriate member agency, because we're part of the California Unified Certification Program. Next slide, please. Just a quick, glance at the WBE application, though. I think, we won't get into that. Next slide, please. The SBA Proprietary Program, as the name denotes, is used by the 3 proprietary departments: Department of Water and Power, Port of LA, and the Los Angeles World Airports. It's relatively a very easy program. If you look at the application form, which actually in fact are available in our bureau's website, and you could see that later on in the last slide that I will be presenting, there are around 9 different certifications, wherein if you are certified in any one of those, you automatically qualify for SBA Proprietary. Unfortunately, if you don't have any certification, you have to go through and submit an application form with us. Next slide, please. Location-based program. What is, our location-based program? It's what we term as the Local Business Enterprise Program and the Small Local Business Enterprise Program. Next slide. Location-based is only for those companies or businesses that are headquartered in the county of Los Angeles, meaning that their physical workspace should be within LA County. And what is a workspace? It's where they keep all the records and where management works and all major transactions are performed. We do not accept any PO boxes or virtual offices or co-working offices here. If someone would apply using any of these addresses, they should prove to us that they are physically within LA County. Next slide, please. Again, LOCSI from the Small Local Business Enterprise certification, very easy certification. It's one of the older certifications that we have in here. The company should just have a City of Los Angeles business tax registration certificate, and their previous year's income should not, or gross income rather, should not be over $3 million. Next slide. LBE certification. Now, you need to apply through your Bhavan profile in here. What you do is you download a 1-page affidavit, you fill it up, convert it to PDF, and upload it to your profile at LABAVN, and our staff would go ahead and review and contact you for any other supporting documents. Next slide, please. Again, other programs that you could apply through Bhavan. A lot of our programs here, you don't really need to apply to us, but we are reciprocity programs with other agencies. The first on top for DVBE, disabled veterans, emerging business veterans, small business enterprise. That is through the California Department of Job Services. Companies should be already certified with California DGS to be able to be recognized as, such as in those programs. Again, the LBE again is through Bhavan. The other DVBE LAWA there's an affidavit again you need to download through your Bhavan profile, fill it up, and then upload it to your profile. Next slide. The Transitional Job Employer Opportunity Program actually is kind of sort of a newer program in there, and this is the only certification program that is open to also to nonprofit as well as for-profit firms. Though let me backtrack a bit. The other programs that I have mentioned are only for-profit firms. Again, to be able to be certified or recognized as a TJOP firm, you must have been in operations for 3 years, providing transitional jobs to hard to employ individuals, at-risk youth, and the recently incarcerated people, and people who don't really have that capability to make it through the usual marketplace without their assistance. So, and they would have to teach these people the trade to be able to go into the regular marketplace. So that is, as you see there, that is the TJOP one-page affidavit that they have to fill up and submit to us, and our section will take it from there and contact you for any other supporting documents. Next slide. Now the application process, again, either paper or online. We would like you to go on online for mostly the federal programs. The MBE, WBE, unfortunately, you need to send a still submit a hard copy application to us. So the only programs available online are the DVBE and ACDB at this point in time. Next slide. Can you back up a bit, Wendy? I'm sorry. Okay, next slide. Oops, I think we're skipping. Okay, just to please be aware that if you are already certified by other agencies in there, do your homework, and you could call our office if you have those certifications, just to find out if your certification from other government agencies or even third-party agencies are recognized by the city. It would save you a lot of trouble submitting an application with us. So that would be a verification, would be a faster way to gain certification through the city. Next slide. Again, BAVAN recognition, those are the programs that you can request for recognition once you are certified by the appropriate agencies in there. When you apply for recognition for any of these, when you're in your BAVAN profile in there, it would prompt some information on the criteria of the program and what kind of certification you need to have to qualify for that particular program. Next slide. LGBTE program, the newest one that we have, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender business enterprise program. Again, very easy, no application form to submit with us, but the firm should already be certified by the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Again, all you need to do is request recognition through your BAVAN profile, and our staff would go and look at those. So that slide that you see there is the just a process, just to tell you what we go through in reviewing your application. Next slide, please. Okay, just processing time, that we have in there for the different programs. Again, I would like to, suggest to everyone, if at this point in time, you don't have any bids that you are looking for in the city, I would like to, you can actually apply for certification once you know if you're qualified for any of their certification programs, because it's easier once the bid is out there. It'll be harder for you to get that certification if you know you're pressed for time in submitting a bid, and the bid would require you to be certified in a particular program. Next slide. Next slide. Oop, okay. Important links to us. The first one is our bureau website, bca.lacity.org and /certification. You can get all the forms that we have. You can get information about the programs, and any questions that you might have about certifications, feel free to email us at bca.certifications@lacity.org. And that's about wraps up my presentation. And again, don't hesitate to call us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rolando. And so for those of you who are participating in today's workshop, I know that may be a lot of information. As Rolando mentioned, obviously he shared some information there that you can contact, but we can be a resource for you as well to navigate the certification process. So thank you again, Rolando. Next up, we have Julie Wong with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, and we're privileged to have her with us today as well. Julie?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. So I'm just going to go over a brief overview of how to do business with LADWP. Again, my name is Julie Wong. I'm from the Office of Small Business and Supplier Relations. So just a little bit about LADWP. We're the largest municipal water and power utility in the nation. We serve over 4 million residents and businesses in Los Angeles. And in 2020, we awarded over 1.2 billion in contracts for goods and services. Okay, next slide. Thanks. So invitation for bid and request for proposals are the two main competitive solicitation methods used for LADWP procurement. For invitation to bid, it's mainly for low bid pricing is the determining factor. And for request for proposals, it has more specific evaluation criteria, not just the lowest bid. And I'll go over each of these in the next couple slides. Next slide. So for the invitation for bid, it's typically used for construction projects, materials, equipment, rentals, and non-professional services. It's sometimes, again, referred to as low bid or sealed bid. There's no exceptions allowed. These bids must conform to all the terms, conditions, and specifications of the IFB, and the lowest bid will be awarded. The lowest priced responsive and responsible bidder will be awarded the IFB. And for responsive, it must be giving exactly what the bid asks for, and the responsibility is the capability to provide for what is asked. So if you meet these requirements, then the lowest bid will get the IFB award. Okay, next slide, please. So for request for proposal, these are typically used for professional, expert, technical, or other complex services, including design, build, and constructions. So RFPs have a predetermined evaluation criteria, such as technical, management, and past experiences, as well as a cost factor. The exemptions may be allowed, and negotiations may take place after the RFP has been posted. So this one, it's awarded to the highest scoring proposer based on the stated selection and evaluation criteria. And you have to pass all of the criteria in order to receive your full score. Okay, next slide, please. So how to participate in LADWP biddings. Rolando earlier mentioned LA Babin. Please make sure you self-register with the City of Los Angeles Business Assistance Virtual Network. All bids are open through that, and it's an open competition. So please make sure you are registered under LA Babin to look at all the opportunities available. So again, make sure to view all the open opportunities, create a unique user profile. If you put in all of your NAICS codes that your company can pertain or relate to, it'll automatically send you emails of open bids or upcoming opportunities too. So make sure you have the correct NAICS codes when you register as well. And once you actually register, you'll be able to download all the documents that apply. So for LADWP, we have the SBE DVBE participation program, and Rolando went over the certifications earlier, but we focus on the SBE DVBE certifications. It applies to most contracts over 150,000 for services, constructions, and rentals with operators. And it's contract-specific mandatory SBE and or DVBE participation. Make sure each RAFB and RFP has a different percentage requirement. So please make sure to focus on that. And for the bidders who do not meet the mandatory SBE DVBE participation requirement, it will be deemed non-responsive. So please make sure you are aware of what percentage it is. As an overall, LADWP's annual goal is 25% SBE and 3% DVBE participation. Okay, next slide. So these are preference programs. The local business preference program will apply to we can apply up to 8% for eligible certified local business enterprise for contracts over 150,000 or a 1 million preference cap. And in order for the local business program to apply in your scoring, make sure you review the RFP or the IFP. It'll state specifically if the LBPP program applies. So the small local business program is a 10% preference, and it applies to eligible certified small local business enterprises under 100,000. Okay, next slide, please. So finding opportunities, aside from LA Babin, LADWP releases a quarterly newsletter called the Supply Line. This will give you an 18-month look ahead of all the upcoming opportunities that LADWP will be posting on LA Babin. So make sure to check that out just to give yourself a heads up on upcoming opportunities. Once it's posted on LA Babin, you'll have a very short window to bid on it. So it's best to look for the opportunities in the supply line first, just to make planning purposes. Okay. And you can find this newsletter at www.ladwp.com/supplyline. Okay, next slide. For getting your business ready, please, again, just make sure you register on LA Babin, have all of your licenses or certification requirements available and relevant. Make sure they're not expired. So, and also for the SBE, DVBE, LBE certifications, if they're applicable, make sure that they're registered in LA Babin on your profile. And this is really important, but every IFB and RFB has a page in there with the certifying agencies that LADWP recognizes. So if your certifications aren't from one of those listed agencies, LADWP will not recognize them for your bid. So just make sure to double check that the agency you got the certifications from are actually recognized by our department. And for the LA Business Tax Registration Certificate, make sure every person that is engaged in business in the city of LA is required to obtain it. So in order to obtain it, if you don't have one already, make sure to apply at Office of Finance website at finance.lacity.org. And please make sure to have all of that ready before you start your bid. And that would actually help you a lot in saving time once you actually have their bid ready to upload onto LA Babin. Okay, next slide. So just a couple of hints and tips. Just make sure to perform due diligence and be prepared. Understand that the statement of work and specifications and the requirements of the contract. A lot of times, if you're rebidding for a contract that has already been awarded or expired, just please make sure to look at the statement of work again. Sometimes the scope of work can change. So even if you're rebidding for a new contract that previously expired, some certain work statements might change a little bit. So just be aware of that. And also, please make sure to attend the pre-bid and pre-proposal meetings for each of the IFBs or RFPs that you're interested in. A lot of times you'll be able to meet the buyers there and you can ask more of the technical questions. Usually the engineers for the projects are also there. So if there's any confusion, it's best to ask while they're able to answer the questions live. And also it gives you an opportunity to network, whether you're a prime or a sub. So just make sure you remain visible. That's just another way to remain visible, and be responsive and responsible. And please make sure don't give up. I know it's tedious. There's a lot of administrative paperwork, but once you get familiar with the paperwork, it should be a piece of cake. Okay. Next slide, please. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact us at our email is supplierrelationsoffice@ladwp.com. You can also give us a call. And if you have any general questions as far as purchasing or just general DWP questions, you can also contact the Vendor Liaison Center. It's purchasebids@ladwp.com. But contact either of us. We'll make sure that your questions are answered by the appropriate parties. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Julie. We have next up Clarence Espinoza, who's with Los Angeles World Airport's Business and Jobs Social Responsibility Division. Clarence?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Next slide, please. So just a little bit of background regarding Los Angeles World Airports. Prior to the pandemic, we were ranked number 3 in the world for passenger service. In 2019, we served over 88 million people. Now, LAWA, Los Angeles World Airport, is actually 2 functioning airports, LAX, of course, which you know, Van Nuys Airport, and we also still own and maintain the rights to Palmdale Airport. However, there are no flights going out there at the moment, but who knows, one of these days it may change. Next slide. Next slide. There we go. All right, so in addition to regular bids and things that go on, we also procure over $500 million in things. And those things can be, cars or toilet paper, pens and pencils. So there is pretty much anything under the sun that you do as a company, we may actually be interested in buying. So very important that, you look at the different types of things and also attend our How to Do Business with LA seminar, which is on the first Wednesday of every month. You'll get a chance to meet folks that are in our procurement division and basically get a chance to see what we purchase. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, at the bottom of the slide here, we now have over 14 billion, that's with a B, in request proposals. And these are the construction projects. For those of you who haven't been to LA lately, if you go to the airport, you'll see a lot of things happening, a lot of cranes. So there are many construction projects happening, and there are also professional services that go along with those contracts. So a lot of things prior to, things being put out of the ground, engineering, accounting, you name it. Next slide. So we talked about certification, so I'm not going to go into this in any great detail, but just know that certification is very important for all of the different types of projects and bids that we are involved with. Next slide. And again, you met some of the individuals earlier. We actually have 2 people embedded in the Department of Contract Administration that is specifically for LAWA. So Sean Shimoda Kobayashi, as well as Elaine Luhuin, those are the individuals that would be working on any certifications related to LAWA. Next slide. Again, we talked about BaVin. Very important that you register your company for not only our projects, but any of the other projects throughout the city. So you see a theme here. All of the different proprietors are talking about Bavin. If you're not on it, you should be on it. Next slide. So on the social responsibility side, one of the things we want to make sure is that businesses get access to these opportunities. As I mentioned, $14 billion, that's a lot of money. And it shouldn't just be for the big guys. So what we try to do is ensure that we can get as many local, diverse businesses that are ready to do the job. And we want to be the best in doing it, and we want to make sure that you have a part of that. Next slide. So I was talking about the 14 billion. Let's kind of break it down into what's going on right now. So in addition to just the major tenants, and that would be the airlines, the cargo companies, the concessionaires, they're doing their own things. We're doing a lot of stuff. Our landside modernization project is $5.5 billion. We have terminal improvement projects. There's utilities, environmental, airside projects, which are basically federal. With all of that comes security and information technology. And then, of course, the planning and study. So all of that in combination is about $14 billion, actually $14.5 billion in projects. And, you know, there will be continual maintenance of those types of things as well. So this number could actually get even higher. Next slide. So that all of those projects that I mentioned, if you look at this diagram, it kind of shows you the activity that's going on. And the different colors correspond to the different projects that are happening. One of the major ones that's going on is our people mover, which is basically a trolley that's going to take you about 5 miles outside of the airport and bring individuals in. It's also going to merge with the Metro Rail line that stops at Century and Aviation. So all of those things are important to kind of make this a better spot for everybody. Next slide. So very important, and this is regardless of whether you're looking for a project here at LAX or the harbor, the port, DWP, know your agency. It's very important. We have a lot of expired contract information, the supply line for DWP, all these things. Do your research. A couple minutes finding out what's going on, in the back end is going to help you immensely as you look forward to doing these types of things. The administrative requirements are extremely important. You got to cross your T's, dot your I's, make sure that you don't miss anything that would make you non-responsive. Meet the agency staff, very important. Find out what it is they're looking for. Find the ways that you can become a solution to a problem that they have. If you can do that, then chances are you have a possibility for a bid. You're doing one of the great things right now, attending these types of workshops. You can't hear this stuff enough. It's going to help you. Every time you get to here, you might learn something new, do something better, make yourself ready. Certification is extremely important. Make sure that your certifications are up to date. You always want to review them maybe every quarter, every year. Find out if some of those are lifetime certifications or if you've got to find ways to renew yourself. In many cases, you may get to a point where you're no longer eligible for the certification because you're making too much money. Great problem to have. But build your capacity, know your finances. That's very important too. Network, because there may be some situations where you might not be able to do it by yourself, but if you joint venture with someone, that may help you to both be able to grab a project. And understand the project and design, know the scope of work, plan for your gaps, very important, and truly develop relations with your prime, because they can help you immensely, especially if you're helping to solve what they need. Next slide. So that's it for me. If you have questions, you can go to the website, the email, businessandjobs@lawa.org, or call the number 646-7300. And I'll stick around for any questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Clarence. Very helpful information. Thank you. And last, but certainly not least, we have Ed Hahn with the Port of Los Angeles. and turn it over to Ed.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Ed Hahn, civil engineer with the Port of Los Angeles. So a lot of good information has been shared today. So I'll do my best not to repeat or go spend too much time on some of the specifics that have already been discussed. I'm mainly here just to share the Port's upcoming projects. On the screen is a one-year look ahead of our capital improvement program. The Port of LA is committed to creating opportunities for small and very small business enterprises, as well as local and regional businesses. As was mentioned earlier, if you're an SBE, VSBE, or LBE and interested in performing work with the City of LA, you'll need to register through LA Babin. So the Port encourages SBE and VSBE participation by including SBE, VSBE percentage goals as part of our construction contracts. Annually, we have a goal of 25% SBE participation and 5% VSB participation. In addition, our contracts include a local business preference program, which allows local business enterprises to receive up to an 8% preference for any contract opportunity that's competitively bid up to $1 million. The list on the screen represents construction projects we plan to begin construction on in the next year. The projects that are highlighted are the ones that will be advertised and competitively bid through our online bidding system, Planet Bids. The projects that aren't highlighted are going to be constructed under one of our on-call construction contracts. So you can check for bidding opportunities with the Port through the Port's Construction Division Business Opportunity Network located on the Port's website. This month, or in July, I should say, we're targeting to advertise 3 construction contracts. We have the HAB HVAC replacement, which consists of the removal and replacement of the existing HVAC system at our Harbor Administration Building. And then we'll also be renewing 2 of our on-call construction contracts, the site improvements and the on-call remediation, which are used typically for as needed and emergency work. And I apologize, those 2 contracts aren't included in that list, but if you check our CD bond through the Port's website, you'll see them when they come out. So again, I encourage you to check that website for upcoming contracts. And if anyone has questions about a particular project, contact info for the project manager is made available on the website. That's it for me. So I'm happy to stick around to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate all the information that you shared along with Clarence, Julie, and Rolando. Is very helpful, and I'm sure the participants have appreciated the information. If there are any questions, please feel free to submit them via the Q&A function. We will, as was mentioned previously, we will be sending out a copy of this presentation to all of those who have registered for this workshop and participated in this workshop. So you'll see the slides along with a copy of the recording of the event as well. Again, we appreciate your time. It looks like there's another poll question here. So if you can bear with us for another minute or so, I believe Wendy will bring up the poll questions.
Thank you, David. I'm going to bring up the poll question now. We actually have 2. The first one is, what subjects would be beneficial to be included in future workshops? And then we have quite a few options, bonding or collateral, certifications, prime partnerships, CPA cost subsidy, bid reviews, or other topics you would like for us to cover. We'll give about maybe 15 more seconds. And we're closing that polling question now. Thank you. Next poll question is, how did you hear about this workshop? Via email, newsletter, social media, or website? And again, another 15 seconds. Okay, and we're closing the polling question now. Thank you, Naveed.
Thank you. I see there's a few questions that came in. So very quickly, we have a question here. Thank you, Wendy, for bringing up our contact slide. But there's a question here. We were given 3 websites, LA Bavin, Supply Line of LADLP, and the Port of Los Angeles. Do they have distinct bids or are there overlaps? Before I turn this over to some of the presenters to answer this, I believe LA Bavin is the central source of all the procurement opportunities with all of those departments. So you want to, as was mentioned quite a few times today, you want to register with Bavin or browse Bavin, LA Bavin again, to essentially be able to discern opportunities with each of those departments. Supply Line of LADWP is a newsletter or a publication that also includes DWP specific procurement opportunities as well as the look ahead. And as far as the Port of Los Angeles, I believe they obviously are also in LA Bavin. I don't know if they have their own portal for procurement opportunities. So based on that information, I think that captures it, but I'll turn it over to any of the public agency representatives if they'd like to chime in further on that.
So this is Ed Hahn with the Port of LA. So again, through the Port's website, through our CD bond, if you go visit that website, it'll open up our online bidding system, Planet Bids, and there it'll open up all the, it'll let you know all the opportunities, upcoming opportunities for our construction contracts, but it's specific to the Port.
Thank
I
you,
hope
Ed.
that answers your question.
And with LAWA, we do go directly through Bavin, but I would say each agency definitely has its own specific guidelines in terms of the how and where they want things to be done. So start with Bavin. You'll never go wrong with that. But then, like in the case of DWP, for instance, you've got to go through their particular system in order to actually submit your bid. So, just read everything, be very meticulous about it, make sure you're on time, make sure that, you look at all of the information and again, cross your T's, dot your I's.
Great. Thank you so much, Clarence and Ed. Julie, did you want to add anything to that as far as LADWP?
Just for clarification, so all procurement, even for submitting bids now, still go through LA Bavin. So if LA Bavin is your direct portal for any bidding, Supply Line is just a newsletter. It gives you a look ahead for the upcoming 18 months. That's just for reviewing anything that may potentially be of interest. And then once they are ready for bidding, it will be posted on LA Bavin. So just keep your eyes out for that. Yeah, and Supply Line is just a newsletter. So you can't really submit your bids or anything like that through that website.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the information. I believe that was the only question that came in. There was another question. Somebody shared their email address for where they would like the presentation sent to. We got that, and we will definitely make note of that. There aren't any other questions. Before you is our contact information. By all means, please feel free to reach out to our program. If anything piqued your interest or you would like to participate and enroll into our program, by all means, we'd love to have you participate in the program. Again, there's no cost to participate. If there's anything that may have piqued your interest, or if there's anything that wasn't addressed in any of the Q&A throughout this workshop, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll do our very best to answer your questions. With that, I want to thank our presenters today from our public agency departments, Clarence Espinoza, Julie Wong, and Edward Hahn, along with Rolando Tucson. Appreciate your time and want to thank our partners at 3D Networks for facilitating today's workshop. And with that, thank each and every one of you for your time. We hope this information was informative, and we look forward to having you at one of our next workshops. Thank Thank you very much.